First
All
things
right.
first is it's Dida, right? I don't want
No,
to.
it's Dida.
Dida. Okay. See, we need to get that. That's first things first for a
Very
reason.
important. You're the second person asking me that today.
Early on.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that early in New York. Okay, yes.
It's early for me and it's noon here, so
Right. I'm a little jet lagged, so I'm up from like 7 and it's 3 now.
Oh wow. Are you usually a morning person?
I am.
So okay, so
I
you
mean, but 7 now it's extra early because of the jet lag. I came back from Greece and London, but generally, yeah, I like the mornings. I'm the most focused and like clear-minded, and
so
it's a nice time.
you get to bed relatively early then to be up in the morning time.
I do. I mean, relatively for a musician, for sure.
Sure.
It is like a difficult choice to make because I do love going out and seeing music and friends. But I like to come back at a nice time. And
Yeah.
I'm not like gonna be out until 4 a.m. vibes. Even though I'm missing something, but I perform and feel much better when I have a good night's sleep, and I just wake up early, so I can't go to sleep so late because I'll still wake up early.
It's good.
Yeah.
Sleep is good. It's been proven. I've been trying to get back onto a better kind of schedule. It just doesn't work. I don't know. I'm screwed. What are we gonna do?
I don't know. Maybe you should embrace the times that you're feeling like being awakened.
I do. I feel like I do. I get a lot done in the nighttime, but I still feel like, oh man, I should be up in the morning, because that's when everybody else is. I'm just
I think
up when
the
nobody
key
else
for
is
you
up.
will be to let go of the blaming yourself for it, and go for what feels good. You're an adult. It's not gonna change. And if it will, you won't,
That's right. That's right.
celebrate the night and have a late morning.
It's hard. It's easier said than done.
Let go of that I should have and would have, but yeah, it's very easier said than done. I'm just here inviting you to let it go.
I appreciate it. I need the
I'm
invitation.
a motivational speaker on the podcast.
Yeah, this is the first one. You don't do music at all. It's just a lot of these kind of chats, just pumping people up, right? That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. When did you first pick up the guitar?
When I was
Getting right into it after waking up.
When I was 11 years old, or maybe when I was 10, I saw a father of someone in my class playing the guitar in this Hebrew holiday. It's not even Jewish, it's more like Israeli, that you basically sit around a campfire. Campfire? That's how you say it?
I'm sorry. I was gonna react, but then the mic decided to drop on me. Please go ahead. Yeah, campfire. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So you sit around a campfire, and usually someone plays an instrument if someone knows how to play. So usually a father or someone in the class will play the guitar and everyone will sing along like Israeli pop and rock songs. So I loved the person that played. I thought it's so cool that they can play all these songs and everyone can sing along. And I was told my parents after, I must play. And I really insisted. They're there's no musicians in my family. So they were not necessarily responding so quickly to it, but they weren't against it. But I just needed to really be craving it. And then I told them I must take guitar lessons and I want to play guitar. And they listened, and I had a random teacher. And then the year after, I was already playing playing with him. It was the father and the someone in the class and me. And that holiday playing, I even wore what he was wearing, a Canadian tux. I have a picture of it. It's very cute.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where was this? Was this?
This is in Tel Aviv, Israel.
Tel Aviv. Very nice. And so I mean, so you pick it up and immediately you're very connected to it.
Yeah, but not necessarily more than I was connected to other hobbies that I had. I was playing tennis and basketball, and I was in the scouts, and I was dancing. I did love the guitar, and I was quick to like get it. Like the year after, I was already playing like, but I wasn't like playing guitar all day long or stuff when I was in the mood, you know?
Sure.
But I
You had
was
other
quick to like
interests.
pick it up. It wasn't just something that was lying around. It became part of my life very quickly,
Mm-hmm.
but it totally is a hobby.
Mm-hmm. At what point did you say, all right, I'm gonna, this is it. This is what I want to do with my free
Yeah.
time.
So there was like stages. So stay one is just I pick up the guitar. It's something I can do. So every time there's like something at school, I'm the one who's playing, stuff like that. Then when I was 15, for some reason I was in a regular school before, and I really wanted to go to this arts high school. I didn't even really want to go. I just went to the audition because a friend of mine went. So most of the people from my school continued to another high school. And I went to this audition to this art school without actually intention of I must get in. It was something I did without thinking too much, and I got in. And they have a really good, it's an amazing school, and they have an amazing, very intense jazz program. So at 15, I got into that program, and I don't know how they do it, but everyone enters at 15. After 3 months, we're all hooked on bebop, like a cult. So that's where I got really serious, and all I cared about from 15 to 18 was to really become great jazz guitar player. I had all I did with my free time. I go back from school, I go home, like it was so important for me to practice for like 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day. And everyone I hung out with were people that were playing jazz, and I admired the people that were like a year and two older than me. And when I went out, it was to jazz shows. I was like a jazz freak very quickly. So that's when I really became obsessed with the music and like really wanted to just be good. Like all, things that stressed me was like there was a class and we needed to learn this solo, and I wanted to be the best. I had like, there were 3 other guitar players, old guys, and I wanted to be like the best at transcribing or whatever we were working on. So it was really amazing that they made us all so into it. Because I really remember the first few jazz history lessons, and the teacher was saying names, and it sounded like Chinese to me. I never heard them, and he was talking fast. It was like Charlie Parker, Lee Morgan, Hank Mobley, Miles Davis. And like after 3 months, we were like, I knew all of them. It's all I talked about. It's insane. Anyway, it's very powerful to have good educators,
Sure,
So I
absolutely.
feel like, okay, so then I wasn't, again, no one thinks what is career going to be, but I was very like, that was my life. And I couldn't imagine, like, I didn't care about other things. I didn't think about the future, but I was just becoming like a musician, And then when was the time when I decided that? In the army, I was still very much into music, but I was more open. We have to go to the Israeli army at 18. So right after high school, I went to the army. I was in the army band, which I was very lucky to get this. There's additions to something they call outstanding musician. Basically, they let people in the arts in Israel audition to becoming like outstanding in their field. And the people that get conditions in the army that allow them to keep practicing whatever the craft they're working on, like they're dancers, musicians, actors. Basically, if they give it, so they don't want to kill the arts in Israel, because everyone gets drafted to the army. So I got this outstanding, if you want to call it, musician. And then I was able to keep working on like playing shows, and like if I had to go abroad for something, they let me do it. But also my job at the army was playing in the army band. So that was the first time I kind of got into I got back into wanting to like play and sing songs and not just jazz songs. I feel like I'm a little off the like what are we talking about?
No. We're going down the list.
Yeah.
The
So listen, there's
lineage.
not a morning that I wake up and like I make a decision, but I guess since I became serious about jazz and became basically a professional, I was already hired when I was in the army, and after to play shows and stuff, I was already like doing it, and I never thought that I didn't want to stop. So basically, I never stopped more than like I decided I'm doing it. I feel like the first times that I'm actually thinking, is that what I'm doing in my life, are in my 30s. Till then, I was kind of like just going with the flow, and like I just became a busy musician, you know?
If it hadn't have been for the high school that you attended with that very honed in kind of, we're going to be working on jazz and for use, especially guitar, would you
Yeah.
have still had that same sentiment towards guitar and music in general of I'm
After that,
really
I
still
have
interested in
no
this?
idea, because who knows what if I've been if it hadn't happened to me, you know? I really hope that I would find my way to music, but I'm also so grateful that I became a musician. And I feel like that school really, I feel like to become, they say it, I don't know exactly what it's saying, but to become really good at something and like kind of have your identity be it, you need to spend a lot of hours and like doing it and learning it and really, I don't know, becoming a master in it. So I feel like that school gave me the opportunity to like do that. And if I was just at a regular school, and I hope that a miracle will happen and I become a master in something, but I really, that school gave me an opportunity to master it. And I feel like being a master in something is really makes you want to keep doing it, because it's like, I
Honing
don't
in
know.
on a skill, sure.
Exactly.
Right. There's a guy, I don't really know what his title is, but this guy's name is Malcolm Gladwell. Have you heard you've heard of that guy, right?
Yeah, he's a writer. I think he lives in New York in the West Village, right?
I
Or
don't want to give his address out. I don't know. No,
I
but
saw him a few
his
times when I lived there.
yeah, he had this thought of it. I think it was 10,000 hour rule. It's like it takes you 10,000 hours to,
Exactly. That's what I was referring to. I remember.
okay. I was gonna say like that's kind of that's his idea on
Yeah,
it, which is very, it's a lot of
exactly.
time.
I feel like that school made me like do that, and then it kind of became who I am. And would it happen if I went to like a regular high school? I don't know. I hope, but I probably would be distracted and like taken away with like things that are on the minds of other teenagers, you know?
Sure.
So I might end up, I don't know, and then I have no idea what the fuck I would do. So I'm really
Um,
thankful that like music saved me.
sure. Now, what was how long do you have to serve in the Israeli army for? What's
Girls for
the
2 years, boys for 3 years.
gotcha? So it's
So
all
yeah,
that whole 3 years you were playing
2 years.
music in it. 2 years, sorry, 2 years
Yeah,
rather.
yeah.
And you were playing music in it through your
Yeah.
whole duration.
It basically was a really nice experience. I'm very thankful that I got this job, because I was basically doing what I'm doing now as a musician, playing gigs all over the country. Just my audience were soldiers in the Israeli army in different units. So we got to travel, meet a lot of people, and play for them. I
It's
was like
good.
entertainment for musicians that are like training for a month, and like the only thing they have that's a little fun is that band coming for like, an hour. So it
It's,
was really nice. I was grateful to, and I had a lot of fun. I was with really fun people in the band.
it's needed. It's needed.
Yeah, and I felt needed and fun, like, and it was fun to travel and like be in places that I would never go to in Israel, because I was from Tel Aviv, and it's like, the main city where everything happens. So you don't really travel a lot outside of it unless you're like have a reason to. So that gave me like, I saw Israel in a different light,
Sure. Now, was that the first band that you joined? Was the army of the Israeli band?
Mm, I don't know. I had like, I guess in the high school when I studied jazz, we had like different bands of jazz, and we were already playing gigs. It was so cool. Like after a year into the school, we already like try to get gigs at like cafes and restaurants, and we had like different bands. But that was my first band that wasn't like, no, actually at high school also, before like at school before the high school, elementary school, I also had little bands. I always had bands.
It's
But
good.
that was cool. The army band was actually opening my mind to other things, but less because of the specific band it was. I think it was my first time after being very in the jazz world, opening up again to remember that music is actually could serve other purposes than like I was a very in a school mind, which is makes you play a little bit in an intellectual way, not necessarily, but I remember the purpose of music, which is to like be something for other people. It sounds very like something you would think about, but you forget about it when you're so in it, like that I'm going to play a solo and whatever I'll sound like it means a lot about me, but you actually realize it's not about you. You're there to like be a relief or a lot of other things for other people. And the army and playing again in this context reminded me of that. So, and it kind of, I think it made me want to sing. It was as a jazz guitar player in the school, I wasn't singing at all. And in the army, I started secretly wanting to sing. It was a secret because I was already in a very professional setting outside of the army and in the army. So I was kind of shy to start singing, and I wasn't good at it because I didn't give my 100,000 hours. So I was a beginner, but I started to develop a wish to be singing because what I learned is that the connection with the people is actually what I'm looking for in music. What I told you about the songs and the purpose of music, live music and music at all. Anyway, so I just felt like singing is really like a huge way to connect like that. The guitar too, but I really wanted to sing. So I started taking lessons with this. It was all secret. I didn't tell anyone that I really want to do it. So I found this teacher and I went to lessons, and I had developed this secret world where I'm like practicing singing at home, but I don't tell anyone that I'm like, that's where I want to go. I actually moved to New York because I wanted to sing, and I was too shy to do it in the scene that I was already a part of.
When you came to the realization that you wanted to sing with music, not just play it, but also
Yes.
be involved with your vocals,
Yeah.
was that that awakening kind of like thought like, oh my gosh, I could like connect with these people more? Was that kind of did you find that to be an issue of some sort, because it's like, oh, this is such a deviation or a separation from what I was doing in music
It was
before to
very
what I
hard.
wanted to do? Yeah.
It was mostly hard because I was very scared. It's very vulnerable singing. And I was there was a big gap between my level at guitar and my level at singing. But but my drive and like wish to sing was so big. So I had to find situations where I can actually start doing that, but I felt way less good at it. So that was hard. And also there was a lot of things to figure out. It took me on a whole journey. Like if I want to sing, the choosing songs become much more of a big deal than like if you just play instrumental, even though I love instrumental music and it's a huge thing. I think you can be a total, like make beautiful art just doing that. But once you start singing songs with words, there's a whole world that opens up to you of like choosing your repertoire. If you're still in jazz world where you're not even writing songs, choosing repertoire for singers, it's a huge deal. It's almost like writing songs. You need to pick the songs that you would have written, if you want to have a convincing version. It's not just, this is the song I'm singing, which in jazz, instrumental jazz, you just play songs you feel like playing, but I feel like there's a whole huge part in choosing songs when you're singing them.
Sure. What were some songs that kind of caught your ear early on when you decided you wanted to sing?
So it's two things. In the jazz world, there were some jazz ballads that I really loved and changed my life vibe. Like, wow, you hear Nina Simone or Frank Sinatra sing a song and it's like, hits you,
Sure.
It still happens to me every day. Today I heard Frank Sinatra sings I'll Never Be the Same. Yesterday I heard Billie Holiday sing I Thought of You. And I Thought of You. That's a Bob Dylan song. I Thought About You is her song. I also listened to Dylan and I Thought of You. Anyway, So those jazz ballads, there's some with like kind of cheesy words, and there are good amount of really, really good jazz ballads. Those I really connected to, and I still learn them all the time and like blown away. Smoke gets in your eyes. What a song. Anyway, so, and then the other part is that I also during the army, I started going back to like rock and roll that I grew up on. So like Israeli rock from the 90s and Nirvana and stuff like that. And those songs really, I wanted to sing things like that too. And I feel like that came later in my writing.
Do you feel like you've reached that point now within music that you're doing that sort of honing in on those kind of sounds more?
I think, listen, it will always be I don't want to say the word struggle, even though that's the first that came to me, because I'm trying to see how it's all one thing. But I feel like, yeah, I'm all those things now. And I feel like I proved it, like that I can do the more rock, folk, singer-songwriter kind of thing, but also that I'm a jazz musician. With many years, I felt like I need to prove that I'm not just a jazz musician. Now I feel like I'm a jazz musician that does all these things. And I play with people like that too. Most of my people, the people I work with are like jazz musicians, or we call it jazz dropouts, people that have education of jazz, but not necessarily do that every day. Like they departed to other kind of styles. That's why my repertoire is very playful too. You won't just hear me doing rock songs. It's like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's like, but I explored all these genres deeply. And just being a jazz musician makes me explore music with that jazz approach. So I can learn a lot of styles and like get myself in them, you know? Like basically jazz is learning how to take something that exists, tear it apart and put it together in your way.
Sure.
I feel like all the things that I grew up on, like pop, rock, it's there. And all the things I'm listening to now, and I'm just putting it together in my way. Depends what I'm into at the time. I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel that if you had started on working on things outside of jazz, out like these different kind of genres, working with those,
Yeah.
and then you transition to jazz now, do you think it would be a greater issue?
No.
It would be more difficult.
Yeah. I think it will be hard to pick up jazz later.
With being so well versed in rock and in all these different genres.
I'll probably be more of that, like more one thing, like I don't know, Adrienne Linker, she's like doing things the same thing again and again, which is a huge, amazing, that's best artists, that's what they do, they keep rewriting the same song. So I feel like maybe I would be just one thing. Even though it's hard to imagine because of my personality that I'll do something like that. I feel like my fun is like to jump around.
Sure.
But I feel like I found with the time and like the way to make it myself in all of those genres, and not just like, here's Dida doing this, now she's doing that, like I'm in a costume. It's just, I feel like it's all the inspiration, I make it into one thing that's me. Maybe it's easier for me because I'm very hands-on on all I do. Like I play the guitar, I sing, I am very involved in the productions and in the gigs. So I feel like my sound comes with me no matter what genre I go to, you know?
Right.
And again, I work with musicians that are very well diverse in those styles. So no one is like, there's a way jazz musicians can play a lot of style, but it's not really convincing. It's like a jazz musician playing a rock groove. So I really am picky and choosing the musicians that can really play that rock groove because they grew up on it and they know the music well, and not just doing jazz, but like with that flavor, you know?
Absolutely. When you moved to New York, it was originally to go to school for music, right?
Yeah, I went to the new school.
Mm-hmm. And why did you choose that school specifically?
So when I was in high school, I was in the big band and we went to Berklee College of Music to perform. And then I auditioned there. Everyone auditioned and we got it like to Berklee. They gave us auditions. And then, because it's a really good high school, they want people from there to go to Berklee. And then I got into the 5-week program. They have a summer thing. And then at the 5-week program, you audition again, and I got a full scholarship to Berkeley. But then I liked Boston. I was there for that summer, but I didn't feel like that's where I want to be. I really knew that I want to be in New York. All my jazz idols lived here. And also I have 2 older siblings, a brother and a sister, and they both lived in New York too. My sister already came back then, but I just had that idea that like, that's where I want to be, New York. So I told my parents that even though I got the full scholarship, I'm going to go and audition to the new school. And if I'll get a good scholarship, they'll let me go there. And I did it, and I got a good scholarship.
Wow. That's very good that all worked out in that way.
I mean, they were waiting for me with Berkeley I could have 2 years of something to still go for that scholarship. So if I wouldn't get a nice scholarship at the new school, I wouldn't do it. But yeah, I'm very lucky that it worked out with the new school. And I'm like very happy with my choice. It was because going to the new school was great. It's a good school, but it definitely wasn't about the school, like those 4 years. School was a part of it. It definitely helped me to have some structure when I just moved 20 years old, moved to New York for the first time. So it was nice to have something. If not, I might be too confused by the city. But I was already very good at music. And like, I knew that what I want was experience. I mean, I was good in music in like terms of school, I didn't need like ear training classes and stuff. Those are great. And I keep practicing all the time. But at some point as a musician, if you have a good private teacher, or how to work already, we always practice and learn. But you know what I mean? I didn't need like school classes as much as I needed the experience of like being kicked in the butt by the city and the musicians in it, and trying to like make it as a musician. So I feel like that's why New York was more appealing to me, because I had so many people that I love their playing, and I kept going to their gigs every day. Every night I went to see someone amazing play. And when I didn't have a gig, because I was already like making myself very busy at playing at bars and restaurants with great musicians. So basically I was hustling in New York City, and that was the school. So that's why I wanted to go to New York and not to Berkeley, because I knew that there was a lot of opportunity for like listening and playing music.
Sure.
And I knew that's the school for me.
How did you go about immersing yourself within the music scene of New York when you originally moved there?
Yeah, so the new school was cool because I did meet some people there that I started in, but honestly, that's not really. They were too young. They were like 18-year-olds from America that just moved, so they didn't know the scene. I think the new school being in the West Village was cool. So I knew the jazz clubs around there, and I started going to Smalls, Fat Cat, and like just hanging out. I met a lot of like older Israelis that were really good on musicians, and some of them really helped me, like introduced me to people. One of them was like my boyfriend at the time, so like he introduced me to some people. And then listen, I was like a young Israeli with some, the word chutzpah.
I've heard of it, but what is
like I had an attitude. I could come to a place and say, hey, do you want to have live jazz here? So I was really like offering my services to a lot of people, and I got some gigs. And then when I got some gigs, I called great musicians to play with me, and by doing that, I started knowing people. I was a sweet Israeli girl that's really driven to play jazz guitar and sing, and there's some energy to that,
Sure.
And then at the school later, I did meet some people that I'm still playing with till this day that are really good. And we became like collaborators and got gigs together and stuff. Also, big deal. My ex-boyfriend at the time is a jazz drummer, Dan Aran, and he introduced me outside of Smalls to this trumpet player from Italy called Fabio Morghera. It's a great trumpet player. And Fabio was intrigued by me, and I already got a gig. I told you I was telling bars and stuff, do you want to have jazz here? So I told the bar at the West Village, do you ever have live music here? And he told me, no, but I would love to try. And then we set a time on Sunday that I will come and give it a try. So we did Sunday from 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. And I came with like a bassist and an amp and a mic and guitar, and we played, and it was great. And the bar owner told me after, like, what are you doing Sundays the rest of your life? And then, so I got that gig. I played it for 8 years every Sunday when I was in town. So that was like my weekly gig. Anyway, when I met Fabio, it's outside of Smalls, the jazz club. He told me, where are you playing? I would love to come here and play. And I told him I have this jazz gig, this weekly gig at this wine bar, Lila Bar, which having a weekly gig is a great opportunity to meet people because you can invite people there. So I invited musicians to sit in, and everywhere I went, people say, where are you playing? I could invite them there. And it's like every Sunday, you know? So it's like my hang, and people come and like it builds something. So then Fabio started coming. He came for like 3 weeks in a row and brought his trumpet and joined us. It was great. And then he told me that after 3 weeks, he sat with me on the bar after the gig, and he's telling me that he knows someone in Italy that has a really nice prestige jazz label, and that he think he can get him into making a record for me. So then I was like, wow, okay, I never even thought about him making a record. It's not something that young jazz people think about, I feel. I just think about how to be good at the instrument every day, you know? It's not like making something that will last or records, that kind of thinking. So then I was really 21 years old and I just moved here. It wasn't on my mind. And then Fabio said, I told him, but I never, like, what would I record? He said, whatever you're doing here at the bar, let's record that. So then I said, okay. And then a month, he told me, you'll probably go in many directions. Musically, you should record straight ahead jazz the way you do it now, because you sound so good doing it, and do it before you're like spread out, you know? He knew. Anyway, okay, so then a month later, we were already at the studio, and I was very lucky that I got Roy Hargrove and Gregory Hutchinson to play on that record. You know them?
No, I don't. But
Yeah. Roy Hargrove is like a big shot trumpet player. He passed away a few years ago. He's like a jazz star. He's also a star because he had, like, except of being a phenomenal musician, one of the best ever, he also had an amazing style, and he was like Miles Davis. He was like, and also a fashion icon. And also he was very involved in the hip hop scene. So like a lot of R&B that wanted trumpet and stuff, he was very involved. So he was a special guest on that record, and I had some good names on the record, what I'm saying. So at 21, I somehow, without really intending to, I had a jazz record out, and it really put me on like the scene. That's really helped me because I started getting gigs because of it. I was called to play festivals in Europe. I was honestly I was thrown in the water without knowing what to do, you know?
Wow. Yeah. It seems like it's very young and a lot of stuff to be doing.
Yeah, most of my friends were still like at school, like trying to go through classes, and I had to come up with like, what am I going to play in this big festival? I'm playing before Benny Golson, another jazz insane, and I have to put the show together. So like, it sounds stressful, but honestly, I was just enjoying it because I wasn't so much in my head. I was like, okay, I have to do this show. Let's do it. Like, I was just going with the flow, and it was so. I wish I was like in that state of mind now, you know? Maybe I should learn something from it, but I was just like going with this opportunities came to me, and I was playing and letting it take me, you know? Trying the best I can with each one of them. Like, obviously I cared, like I wanted it to be the best.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's
but there was something effortless about like just the opportunities were kind of like some doors were open, and I just stepped and tried my best, you know?
Sure. What album was that? That was
It's called Dida Plays and Sings. It was just like, I just know what it is to put an album now, and I like thinking about it and putting a team together, and you're being really the force that like drives things. And then like, I didn't know that there's a publicist to a record. So I released it, the label released it, it was theirs. And then after, a publicist came to me and told me, Dida, I think this is really great. After it was already out, I would love to work on this and like get you more press and stuff. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And he got really good stuff. It was like all about jazz, best album for 2011. And like, I don't know, something was more very natural. And it felt nice.
Does inspiration still come from the same places now that it did then, 11
Inspiration
years ago,
for what?
for music, for
Mm.
what drives, what helps you create your songs?
It was very different, but in some core of it, it's the same. In the core of it, it's the same, but it felt in it different stages. In the beginning, I wanted to be good, you know? When you're a jazz kid, you want to be good on your instrument. I still want that, but at some point you reach a level of like mastery when you're already good. So now it's more about you want to. But already then, when I started singing, I wanted to affect people. I realized that's what means to be good. Like you can already play, but can you make someone like think about their lives in a different way, or like open their heart, you know, as cliche as it sounds. So like I fell in love with singers because the way they make me feel about, they open my eyes about life, you know?
Sure.
So then, so yeah, I think that's the core of it. You want to write songs or play other people's songs. It really doesn't matter. So you're on stage at night and like today I have a show and like you make people feel something, you know? So yeah, I think the drive to make a record or make or send someone a song on their voice memo or play a show is the same thing. You want to be present and make someone else present. I feel like even by making someone present and not like in their head is already a big accomplishment, which is it's hard to remember to be present. Like, are you present now?
Yeah, I would say I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I'm too, but sometimes I need to remind myself, you know,
Sure.
there's
Sure.
different levels. I feel like that's the big power of music. It invites you to like stop everything and be in the moment.
Did you feel more in the moment then, playing new songs and everything, as opposed to now?
No,
Now more than then.
no, I think there's something that's some of the magic of music. When you have to concentrate on making it, you're present. When you're connected. So it's when you're connected, I'm not every day connected. Some nights you go and you can't connect as much as you would want to. But when you are connected, it's the same. It's not like then I was connected, now I'm not. It's like on Tuesday I was connected, on Wednesday not, you know?
Sure.
Forever.
When you got done with your first album, did you want to go further into getting away from jazz rather than leaning more into it?
So again, those beautiful ages, to early 20s, I didn't know what I'm doing. So I did the jazz album. It took me to this exciting roller coaster of doing jazz tours in Europe and stuff. So I was like going with the flow, playing the gigs, trying to be good. And then after a few years, I wasn't trying to do anything, but I really, really started being obsessed and caring about songwriting. So I remember that gig at Lela, which Lila Bar, was a really cool place to see a development because I started with jazz there, but I really changed there. So I started bringing all these songs to the people I was playing with that weren't only from the jazz repertoire. So I was still in the jazz mind of like, here's a song, let's sing it, and then play a solo and sing it out. Like that's what you do with jazz standards, right? You take a little solo and then you present the song again. So I was just bringing a wider repertoire. I was bringing Bob Dylan songs, Neil Young, Lou Reed. I just brought songs that I loved and treated them in the same way of like a jazz standard, like I'm going to make my own version of it. Basically like a cover, but very personal cover, because I can do whatever I want to it and really play solo and stuff. So that's how it started. And then at some point, I really wanted to write my own songs. And I was playing a lot with a great bass player, jazz bass player, Tal Ronen. And together we started writing songs. And then, yeah, and then the songwriting started. And then I made an album called Modern Love Songs that has some covers that we loved playing, but not from the jazz world. Like the covers I told you about, some of Randy Newman, or what else did we do there? I don't even remember. Willie Nelson. Covers that I loved, like really songs that stuck with me. And then some of our original songs. So that was my first attempt. It took like 4 years after that Dida Plays and Sing record. And it was my first attempt at like songwriting and like producing also music, that it's not like just going to a studio and playing a session, you know. Jazz is like you play with a band and that's the recording. Here it was my first time experimenting with different production approaches, you know. You can do the vocals later, you can like totally not have a band and just sit with so it took me 4 years also to write those songs and get in the direction, but also just to find how to record this and make sense of it, you know.
Sure, that's it seems like it was a learning experience across the board.
For sure.
So 4 years that took that album specifically.
Yeah, so 2011 was the jazz, and then it wasn't like the day 2011 I released the album and I start working on a new one. You know, you don't know what you're doing. But 4 years it took. I released the other one on 2015. In 2015. So yeah, it took me 4 years, but probably I was playing the shows with that record. I was probably starting to be interested in more things. Then I kept playing the gig and brought new songs. We got songs. Probably at 2013 or 14, we had songs. And then I was starting to meet up with producers, either friends or producers, and try to record the songs. And it took it like at least 2 years to like mess around with the songs in studios for sure, to realize what's the way to play them, to what's the final version.
When did you realize that it was all done, it was all finished? When we like
Many times it's very connected to relationships. So I feel like I tried different producer. I knew that it's no, like the things that I did before. And at some point I met someone, a friend, that we really connected, and it was kind of like a relationship, but it wasn't like romantic, but it was like a romantic relationship. We were like seeing each other every day, really like becoming in the same headspace about like what we care about music, what we think is important. And together like that, I think I trusted him and the process so much that we were able to finish it together. But so it's more about like meeting a person that you trust, and that then you trust yourself and the process. It happened to me also with the record I recorded now, I released now, Love of the Tiger. Mm-hmm. That I tried a lot with different people, and at some point I knew that like I had a group of people and myself, and it felt like this is it. It's a lot about the connection with the people. With Love of the Tiger, it was also like we were able to finish one song, and then it was like, okay, this song sounds really good. Like, let's just do all of them with that approach.
Sure. Does inspiration for songs still come from the same place though? Are you still intrigued by the things that you were back in 2011? Does that still affect your music now?
Yeah, we think it's the same things at the end of the day. There's some differences, but yeah, it's exactly the same.
Do you feel like your lyrics revolve?
Well, there are more subjects that come to me. For example, I just have the most recent song I wrote is with my friend. It's called Teen Model, our project. She was a teen model. She's not a model anymore. And we wrote kind of a concept EP or album about her experience as a teen model. She also became an alcoholic, and like now she's sober, but the whole thing is, so it's very reflective, that album, about your 20s or your early. So yeah, the subjects are different, but I wasn't as reflective when I was 21. But I think the core of wanting to write a song that you'll go on stage and play, and it will connect with people in the way, and you'll connect with it, is the same. And honestly, I don't know why, but that sentiment of regret and like living a life that you were being scared of living a life that you regret, and womanhood and all these things that are in my songs, I already knew that I care about these things when I was 21. Like the jazz songs I chose for stuff were songs, Sophisticated Lady. It's a song about a woman that lives in denial. And the song that Jenna and I wrote, Sleeping in the Closet, it's about living in denial. So it's the same kind of subjects, even though now I'm just more aware of them. And then it was something that I was scared of or thinking about, but not really knowing why, because I was so young. But I always loved songs about women that lose it all, like a Rolling Stone. People that are like a promise, but for some reason they like live a life that is a miss. you know?
Yeah. Do your lyrics revolve around storytelling?
Sure. Yeah. Everything is storytelling, but I don't really understand. It's not like I'm taking a character and telling a story about them, but the songs are very storytelling like, yeah. But some are more vague than others. Some are like really a story. Yeah. I think
What,
every song is a story. Yeah, it's
um,
storytelling more than like very open writings about like nature or something.
gotcha. Gotcha. Where did the title Love of the Tiger come from?
So there's a track on the album called Love of the Tiger, and that title, and I like that name, so I thought it's cool as an album title. And it's a few things. First of all, my dad is obsessed with tigers, so like the tiger is a theme in our family. He's like calls himself the Tiger Man, and he has tattoos all over himself, and he's like has a huge collection of he's like someone you'll see on a TV show as someone who's obsessed with tigers and change his whole life to like revolve around tigers. But also the main reason for the naming of the song is not the obsession of my dad with tigers, but I'm quarter Thai. My grandmother is from Thailand. And there was one point in all those times that I'm telling you that I was like thinking what kind of songs do I want to write and stuff like that. So for a second, I thought I want to write Thai music, because I thought maybe I should get into this persona of like Thai royalty, because I grew up thinking that my grandmother was a Thai princess. So I thought maybe my musical character or persona should be like a Thai princess. Because I also learned at the time that the king of Thailand, he passed away 2016, was a blues guitar player. So I thought, wow, what, and they admire him, he's like their king. So I thought, wow, maybe I should be Thai royalty guitar player. And like I started wearing for shows silk Thai dresses. And then I was listening to a lot of music from the 60s, like psychedelic Thai music. And then this melody came to me, da 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 da. And I started writing this song that's later was made into Love of the Tiger. And we called it Love of the Tiger, me and my co-writer, because we thought it's a cool name for like a Thai song.
Very cool name. Yeah. Dida, I appreciate you sitting down with me and
Hey,
chatting.
thank you so much for your time and for your interest.
Thank you. But before we go, I gotta promote some stuff for you. So, Love of the Tiger. This new album is streaming everywhere, right? That's
right.
It's very, very, very new album. It's very, very good. So wherever people get their music, that's where it is.
Exactly. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube.
Awesome, awesome. And
All
you could stay up to date with the shows and the tours by following you on Instagram, right? Is that the best place?
Exactly. That's the best place.
The people can support you directly through the website, right? Through your website?
Yeah.
Is it the best place?
I think Instagram or like something like that would be the best to
Instagram.
follow,
Okay.
be in touch, because then you know about projects, if shows, songs. I put a lot of little videos of me playing every day.
Is there any underscores between Dida and Pelled or no? Or is it just one solid?
No, just Dida Pelled. So much for your time, and it was lovely to talk to you.
Thank you. Likewise. And I'll talk to you in a minute. I'm gonna stop recording this. All right.
Sounds good.